Most people have been told for years that fish is the go-to protein for building muscle, especially as we age. But here's a surprising truth. While fish is excellent, it's not the only or even the best answer to protecting your muscles from decline. In fact, new research shows that there's a humble plant-based food that can rival fish in its ability to stimulate muscle growth and fight off sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass that robs so many people of strength, independence, and vitality. Sarcopenia isn't just about vanity or looking strong. It's about survival. Studies show that seniors with low muscle mass are at far greater risk of falls, fractures, slower recovery after illness, and even early mortality. Muscle is the engine of healthy aging. It's what keeps your metabolism active, your balance steady, and your body resilient. When muscle disappears, so does quality of life. But here's the empowering part. The decline isn't inevitable. What you eat, how you move, and the way you structure your daily habits can either accelerate sarcopenia or protect you against it for decades. And this brings us to today's counterintuitive message. Forget fish for a moment, because there's another food that science shows can spark muscle protein synthesis, lower inflammation, and give your aging body the raw materials it desperately needs to stay strong. This food is affordable, widely available, and deeply underappreciated. Here, we're going to explore together why sarcopenia accelerates after age 50 and what's happening in your muscle fibers on a microscopic level. The specific nutrients in this food that switch on your muscle building machinery. The fascinating neuroscience of motivation. Why protecting your muscle doesn't just affect your body, but also your brain, mood, and willpower. How timing your meals makes a difference in muscle retention. The overlooked role of gut health in whether you actually absorb muscle-building nutrients. And finally, a simple daily protocol you can apply immediately to guard your strength for years to come. Think of today's talk as both a science briefing and a personal toolkit. My goal is that by the end, you'll not only understand why muscle matters at any age, you'll also have concrete steps to fuel and protect it without needing to live on fish or expensive supplements. By the time most people reach their 50s, something subtle but powerful begins happening inside their muscles. You might not notice it at first, a little less strength carrying groceries, a little more fatigue after a walk, but at the cellular level, your muscle fibers are changing. This process is called sarcopenia, and it's one of the most underappreciated forces driving aging. Here's what the research shows. Starting around age 50, the average adult loses about 1% of muscle mass per year. And after 60, the rate can accelerate. By the time someone reaches their 70 or 80, they may have lost up to 30–40% of their muscle tissue compared to their youth. But this isn't just about weaker arms or legs. It's about biology, independence, and even survival. Well, what steps actually happening in your body? 3 major changes drive sarcopenia. First, hormonal shifts. Levels of growth hormone, testosterone, and estrogen all decline with age. These hormones aren't just about reproduction, they're powerful signals that tell muscle fibers to grow and repair. Without them, the signals get weaker and the muscles respond less. Second, motor neuron loss. Every muscle fiber is connected to a nerve. As we age, some of those nerves die off, leaving the fibers they once controlled inactive. Imagine a light switch being flipped off in a room. You lose function in that entire area. Unless other nerves reconnect, those fibers simply wither away. Third, mitochondrial decline. These tiny power plants in your cells become less efficient over time. When mitochondria can't produce energy as well, your muscles fatigue faster, recover slower, and gradually shrink. Now, here's the critical insight. Sarcopenia doesn't just reduce strength, it creates a cascade. Less muscle means a slower metabolism, which means more fat storage, higher insulin resistance, and a greater risk of type 2 diabetes. It also means less stability and coordination, leading to falls. In fact, studies in journals like The Lancet have shown that muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of longevity, even more than weight or cholesterol. But here's the empowering part. While aging changes the body, it doesn't predetermine weakness. Research consistently shows that nutrition, resistance training, and daily activity can dramatically slow or even partially reverse muscle loss. Think of muscle as a use it or lose it system. When you give it the right stimulus and the right building blocks, Even a 75-year-old can add lean tissue. Let me ask you, have you ever seen an older adult who seems decades younger than their peers, moving with energy, lifting groceries with ease, even jogging in the park? Chances are they've found ways to protect their muscle, and protecting your muscle isn't about becoming a bodybuilder. It's about staying mobile, independent, and mentally sharp for as long as possible. That's why today's conversation is so important. Because once you understand the science of sarcopenia, you can begin to fight it with smart nutrition choices, like the unexpected food we're going to explore shortly, that rival fish in their ability to feed your muscle tissue. When most people think about building muscle, the image that comes to mind is a plate of salmon or tuna, and yes, fish is a high-quality protein. But here's what the research shows. Plant proteins, particularly lentils, can rival fish in their ability to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, the biological process where your body takes amino acids and literally builds new muscle fibers. Now, why lentils? First, they are rich in essential amino acids, including leucine, which is the key trigger for turning on the mTOR pathway. Think of leucine as the ignition key that tells your body it's time to build. Studies published in journals like Nutrients and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition show that adequate leucine intake is directly tied to muscle growth, especially in older adults whose muscles are less responsive to protein. Second, lentils are loaded with micronutrients, magnesium, iron, folate, and potassium that fish simply doesn't deliver in the same balance. Magnesium, for instance, isn't just about relaxation. It's critical for muscle contraction and recovery. Iron ensures oxygen gets to your working tissues. And folate supports the repair of DNA and cells inside those muscles. Third, lentils offer something fish does not: fiber and phytochemicals. These compounds lower systemic inflammation, which is crucial because chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the silent accelerators of sarcopenia. When inflammation is high, your body breaks down more muscle protein than it builds. Lentils counter that process. And here's a practical edge. Lentils are affordable, shelf-stable, and accessible in almost every culture. Unlike fish, they don't spoil quickly, don't depend on shipping costs, and can be eaten daily without concern for heavy metals or sustainability issues. Have you noticed how energized you feel after a balanced, plant-rich meal compared to something heavy and greasy? That's not an accident. Your gut microbiome thrives on plant fibers, and when your gut is healthier, your body extracts and uses nutrients more effectively. We'll go deeper on that in part 5, but here's the bottom line for now. Lentils are more than just a protein. They're a complete package for muscle health. Here's a simple tool to apply. Aim for at least 1 cup of cooked lentils a day, ideally combined with whole grains like rice or quinoa to round out the amino acid profile. This pairing creates what scientists call a complete protein, rivaling fish gram for gram in terms of muscle support. And if you're thinking, can my body really build muscle with beans? Consider this. Studies from Tufts University have shown that older adults who regularly eat legumes maintain significantly higher lean body mass and strength than those who rely only on animal proteins. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. We're building a community here dedicated to protecting strength, vitality, and mental sharpness with science-backed tools. When we talk about muscle, most people think only about the body, but here's what neuroscience reveals. Muscle is also a brain health organ. Every time you contract your muscles, whether through walking, lifting, or even carrying groceries, you're not just moving your body, you're sending signals to your brain. This happens through special chemical messengers called myokines. These are proteins released by muscle tissue during contraction. Think of them as text messages your muscles send to your brain, and the messages they deliver are powerful. They boost memory, reduce anxiety, improve mood, and even promote the growth of new neurons in the hippocampus, the region of your brain most critical for learning and resilience. One landmark study from the Journal of Neuroscience showed that physically active older adults had significantly greater hippocampal volume compared to sedentary peers. In simpler terms, stronger muscles equal a stronger memory center. Another fascinating line of research shows that myokines like irisin can actually stimulate neurogenesis, the birth of new brain cells, even in adults well into their 70s. Have you ever noticed how your mood feels lighter after a brisk walk or a light workout? That's the direct effect of these muscle-derived chemicals balancing your neurotransmitters. Instead of relying only on willpower to lift your mood, your muscles are literally doing the work for you. Here's another layer. When you protect your muscle, you're also protecting your motivation circuitry, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that governs focus, decision-making, and self-control, receives more blood flow and oxygen when your body is strong. That's why people who keep up with regular strength activity often report sharper thinking, quicker problem solving, and even better emotional regulation. And here's where this ties back to sarcopenia. When muscle mass declines, not only does physical strength drop, but so does the regular release of these brain protective myokines. The result is a double hit, slower body and duller minds. This is why some scientists call muscle the organ of longevity. It keeps both body and brain biologically young. So if you've ever thought, I'm too tired to exercise, my brain just isn't sharp today, remember the very act of moving your muscles is the tool that will bring that sharpness back. Motion creates emotion, and strength training is one of the most direct ways to influence not just your physique, but your mental clarity, resilience, and even your overall sense of motivation. Here's a practical tool. Pair your muscle-nourishing meals, like that daily cup of lentils, with 2 short bouts of movement each day. It doesn't have to be heavy lifting. Even resistance bands, chair squats, or brisk walking can release myokines and keep the brain-muscle connection alive. The key is consistency, not perfection. By seeing your muscles as part of your nervous system, not separate from it, you'll understand why protecting them is protecting your mind. When most people think about muscle nutrition, they focus only on what they eat, protein, carbs, fats. But neuroscience and physiology tell us that when you eat is just as important for preserving and building muscle, especially as you age. Here's the science. As we get older, our muscles become what researchers call anabolically resistant. That means they don't respond as efficiently to protein. A 20-year-old can eat a single protein-heavy meal and spark muscle growth for hours. But for someone over 50, the same meal produces a much weaker effect. The solution? Evenly distributing protein across the day. Studies from the University of Texas and McMaster University show that consuming around 25-30 grams of protein at each meal stimulates muscle protein synthesis far more effectively than loading most of your protein at dinner. In other words, 3 balanced meals with equal protein are better than 1 protein feast. Here's an analogy. Think of your muscles like a sponge. After hours without protein, the sponge is dry. It won't soak up much. But if you keep moistening it regularly, it absorbs far more. That's how your muscles respond when you give them steady signals throughout the day. And timing doesn't stop there. One fascinating study published in Frontiers in Nutrition found that a pre-sleep protein snack such as Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or even a warm lentil soup can increase overnight muscle protein synthesis. While you're sleeping, your body is repairing tissue, releasing growth hormone, and consolidating memory. Feeding your muscles just before bed fuels that process and helps protect against sarcopenia. Have you noticed how your energy crashes after a lunch with mostly carbs? That's because your brain and muscles aren't getting the amino acids they need to sustain performance. But when you add balanced protein at that same meal, say a lentil salad with quinoa, you feel steady, focused, and strong. That's not a placebo, it's biology. Here's a practical tool. Build your day around the 30-30-30 framework. Aim for about 30 grams of protein at breakfast, 30 grams at lunch, and 30 grams at dinner. If you're active or trying to regain muscle, add a small protein-rich snack before bed. This timing strategy keeps your muscle-building machinery switched on around the clock. If you're finding these tools useful, join our community by liking and subscribing. We're building strength together, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. By aligning when you eat with your body's natural rhythms, you're giving your muscles the constant signal to grow and stay alive instead of letting them slip into decline. Here's something most people don't realize. You can eat the perfect diet for muscle, but if your gut isn't healthy, much of that protein never actually reaches your muscles. Your digestive system is the gateway, and if the gate isn't working well, the nutrients never arrive where they're needed. Research shows that the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your intestines, plays a huge role in muscle health. In fact, a 2021 study in Science Translational Medicine found that older adults with a more diverse gut microbiome had greater muscle strength and function compared to those with less diversity. Why? Because certain gut bacteria break down plant fibers into short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which reduce inflammation and improve muscle metabolism. Think of your gut as a factory. Protein comes in, but unless the machinery is well maintained, it won't be processed efficiently. When the microbiome is healthy, your intestines absorb amino acids, regulate blood sugar, and reduce systemic inflammation, all of which directly feed into stronger muscles. But when gut health breaks down, the opposite happens: more inflammation, poor nutrient absorption, and faster muscle loss. Have you ever eaten a protein-heavy meal and still felt sluggish, bloated, or low in energy? That's a clue your gut may not be processing the nutrients efficiently. This is one reason two people can eat the exact same food, but one builds lean tissue while the other struggles. Here's the empowering part. You can optimize your gut for muscle. Simple tools make a big difference. Aim to include fermented foods like kefir, sauerkraut, or miso several times per week. Pair those with prebiotic fibers, foods like onions, garlic, oats, and of course lentils. Together they feed the good bacteria that improve protein absorption. Another overlooked factor is inflammation. Chronic gut inflammation, often triggered by too much processed food, sugar, or alcohol, doesn't just upset digestion. It signals the body to break down muscle rather than build it. By reducing inflammatory foods and increasing fiber-rich plant-based proteins, you shift the balance back toward growth. A simple framework is the 3-2-1 gut protocol: 3 servings of diverse plant fibers daily, 2 servings of fermented foods weekly, and 1 mindful check-in to reduce processed foods. This not only supports digestion, but creates the conditions for your muscle to fully use the nutrients you're eating. Here's the big takeaway. Your gut is not just about comfort or digestion. It's a silent partner in whether you hold on to your strength as you age, protect your microbiome, and you protect your muscle. We talked about the science of sarcopenia, the power of lentils, the brain, muscle connection, meal timing, and gut health. Now let's put it all together into a daily framework you can actually live by, because knowledge without a system often fades. A simple, science-backed protocol makes it real. Think of this as your muscle longevity blueprint, a set of daily practices that protect strength, energy, and independence. Step 1, anchor protein at every meal. Follow the 30-30-30 framework, about 30 grams of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Use lentils as your cornerstone at least once a day, paired with whole grains for complete amino acids. This keeps your muscles in a constant state of repair and renewal. Step 2, move in microdoses. You don't need a gym membership or heavy weights to protect muscle. 2 or 3 short bouts of activity like bodyweight squats, resistance band pulls, or a brisk 10-minute walk are enough to stimulate myokines and keep your brain sharp. Consistency beats intensity. Step 3, train balance and stability. Strong muscles matter, but so does coordination. Simple balance drills, standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, or practicing heel-to-toe walks train the neuromuscular system and reduce fall risk, one of the biggest dangers of sarcopenia. Step 4, optimize gut health. Remember the 3-2-1 gut protocol: 3 servings of diverse plant fibers daily, 2 servings of fermented foods weekly, and 1 reduction in processed foods. This ensures your protein actually fuels growth instead of being wasted. Step 5, rest strategically. Sleep is when growth hormone surges and repair happens. Add a small pre-sleep protein snack like lentils, Greek yogurt, or cottage cheese to supercharge overnight recovery. Aim for 7-8 hours of consistent quality sleep. Step 6, protect your mindset. This journey isn't only physical. Remind yourself daily: every meal, every movement, every night of good sleep is an investment in strength and independence. The neuroscience is clear. Beliefs shape behavior. By framing these habits as identity-based, I am someone who protects my strength. They stick far longer than rules or willpower alone. Here's the empowering truth. Even if you've already lost some strength, it's not too late. Studies show older adults in their 70 and even 80 can build new muscle with these practices. The body responds to the right signals at any age. If you're finding these tools valuable, join our growing community by liking this video and subscribing. We're building strength together: body, brain, and spirit. When you combine nutrition, movement, gut health, rest, and mindset into a daily system, You don't just fight sarcopenia, you create a foundation for vitality that can carry you through the decades. We began today with a surprising idea that you don't need to rely on fish to build and protect your muscles as you age. Sarcopenia may be common, but it is not inevitable. The science shows us that with the right food, timing, and daily practices, we can slow it down or even reverse parts of it. Let's quickly recap the breakthroughs we explored together. Muscle loss after 50 isn't just about strength, it's about independence, metabolism, and even survival. Lentils and other legumes provide not only protein and leucine, but also the micronutrients and anti-inflammatory compounds that rival fish for muscle protection. Muscles don't just move the body, they talk to the brain through myokines, sharpening memory, mood, and motivation. Timing matters. Spreading protein evenly across the day and including a pre-sleep dose can keep your muscle-building machinery switched on. The gut health is the silent partner of muscle growth. A thriving microbiome makes every bite of protein more effective. And finally, a daily protocol anchoring protein, moving in microdoses, protecting gut health, and resting deeply creates a foundation for lifelong strength. Why does this matter? Because your muscle is not just tissue, it's your armor for aging. It's what keeps you walking with confidence, recovering faster, and staying sharp in both mind and body. Protecting it is one of the most empowering health investments you can make. Here's my challenge to you. Don't just hear this information. Try one tool today. Add a cup of lentils to your meal. Take a 10-minute walk after lunch. Practice standing on one leg while brushing your teeth. Small actions compound. Every step you take builds resilience against sarcopenia. And if today's insights resonated with you, I'd love for you to join this community, like this video, share your experience in the comments, and subscribe so we can keep growing together. This isn't just about muscle, it's about living with strength, clarity, and vitality at every stage of life. Your body is capable of more than you think, and the choices you make today are shaping not just your health, but the years ahead. Let's build that future with intention. One meal, one movement, one strong decision at a time.